All right, today we're diving into a procedure that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a movie. We're talking about a true ultimate rescue in the world of surgery, penile replantation. It's one of the most complex and delicate operations you can imagine.
So let's just get right to the big question everyone's thinking. Can a severed penis actually be put back on? Well, the answer, which is pretty incredible when you stop and think about it, is yes. A definitive yes. And we're about to break down exactly how that's even possible. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of the surgery, you have to understand the why behind this kind of emergency. Because the story here isn't just about a physical wound, it's profoundly psychological.
I mean, this injury is obviously a life-threatening medical emergency. But the physical trauma is only half the battle. The psychological impact can be absolutely devastating, hitting at the very core of a person's identity and well-being.
And while this can happen because of an accident or an assault, the data on self-inflicted cases is just staggering. One major study found that a huge majority, 87% of patients, were in an active state of psychosis when the injury occurred. In fact, there's a name for this specific phenomenon: Klingsor's syndrome. It's often associated with conditions like schizophrenia, where a patient might experience command hallucinations. This just highlights how crucial it is to have psychiatric care right alongside the surgical team.
So, no matter the cause, the moment the injury happens, a clock starts ticking, and it is a frantic race against time. Every single minute counts when you're trying to preserve the organ and make this rescue mission possible. It all comes down to keeping the tissue alive. See, without a blood supply, tissue starts to die. At room temperature, that's what surgeons call warm ischemia. You've got about 6 hours. But if you can cool it down properly, you enter cold ischemia, and that window can stretch to 16 hours, maybe even longer.
And proper cooling doesn't just mean throwing it on ice. Oh no, there's a very specific protocol. You clean the part, wrap it in saline-dampened gauze, and put it in a sealed bag. And here's the key. You then put that bag inside another bag that has ice in it. This bag-within-a-bag method is absolutely crucial. It prevents direct contact with the ice, which would cause frostbite and kill the tissue you're desperately trying to save.
Okay, so the organ is preserved, the patient is stabilized, and the clock is still ticking. Now we head into the operating room for what can only be described as an incredible act of surgical artistry.
The entire procedure today hinges on the modern marvel of microsurgery. Now, people tried a very basic reattachment way back in 1929, but it was the development of these microvascular techniques in 1977 that completely changed the game and made today's success rates even possible. The surgery starts with some meticulous identification. Under the microscope, the surgeon has to map out every single critical structure. We're talking about the 2 corpora cavernosa, those are the chambers for erections, the urethra for urination, and that super important bundle of dorsal vessels and nerves that handle blood flow and feeling. Next up, they rebuild the foundation. The corpora cavernosa and the spongy tissue that surrounds the urethra are stitched back together. This gives the whole structure stability, kind of like building the frame of a house before you do the delicate wiring.
And this is where the real magic happens, the microsurgical repair. The surgeon, looking through a powerful microscope, has to painstakingly reconnect the tiny dorsal vein, at least one artery, and the almost invisible dorsal nerves. This is, without a doubt, the most critical step for the organ's survival, future function, and sensation.
And finally, once blood flow is restored and everything looks good, the skin is carefully closed up. The replantation is complete. It's just an amazing display of precision and skill. But leaving the operating room is really just the beginning. The road to recovery is its own long and complicated journey. Thanks to these incredible techniques, the results are, frankly, astounding. The success rate, just in terms of the organ surviving, is around 90%. Think about that. 9 times out of 10, this seemingly impossible repair actually works. But success isn't always perfect. The recovery can be full of hurdles. Complications can include things like skin loss, problems with blood flow, urinary issues like strictures, and erectile dysfunction. Now, to fight some of these problems, surgeons have a few tricks up their sleeves, including some surprising ones. For instance, if blood is flowing in fine but struggling to get out, that's called venous congestion, they might actually turn to an ancient remedy, medicinal leeches. They help draw out that trapped blood. It's wild, right? And this brings us full circle, back to the psychological journey that has to happen right alongside the physical one. This quote really says it all. Once the underlying psychosis is treated, most patients feel a deep sense of remorse. This is why attempting the replantation is so critical. It's not just about repairing a body part, it's about trying to restore a piece of themselves they never truly wanted to lose.
But what happens if the replantation can't be done? Maybe the severed part was too damaged, or it couldn't be found in time. What's the alternative path when that rescue mission just isn't an option?
In those cases, the whole objective of the surgery shifts. Instead of reattachment, the goal is now to create the most functional penile stump possible. The surgeons will close everything up and reshape the urethra to allow for urination. Function becomes the top priority. And even if the remaining stump is too short for, say, sexual function, all hope is not lost. Down the road, patients can be candidates for other incredibly complex surgeries, like a phalloplasty, where a new penis, a neophallus, is constructed using tissue from another part of the body, like the forearm.
Penile replantation is just a monumental surgical achievement. It restores anatomy, sure, but it also restores a huge part of a person's identity. And it really leaves you with a final big question. The work in the operating room is mind-boggling, but is the greater challenge found not under the microscope, but on that long, difficult road of psychological healing that comes after?